Hello, everybody. So at the market open this morning, we had amazing news from HIMSS. They are fighting with Novo. They are launching compounded oral GLP-1s, specifically compounded oral semaglutide. It's an earthquake in the industry. It's wonderful. And guess what? The stock is down 2.2% right now as I record this. It's absolutely nuts. This is joke grade price action. This, frankly, would deserve to be framed because I thought this stock was only trading on GLP-1s. The talk of the town, the biggest talk on GLP-1, has been how Novo is going to be saved thanks to its oral semaglutide. And HIMSS beats Novo to the punch by compounding the very product that is supposed to save Novo. So the stock should be down like crazy, which it initially was. But HIMSS being HIMSS, it is now down 2.25%. All stocks right now, any stock that makes sense is being entirely dismissed by Wall Street. We've lived in a world for the past 3 months where fundamentals do not matter. And HIMSS is another example of that, where fundamentals absolutely do not matter. I thought this stock was trading on GLP-1 news. Well, it turns out this stock is trading on nothing. This stock is traded as a punching bag. This stock is TradFi Wall Street punching bag like it has been for a very, very long time. Wall Street hates something about this stock. TradHealth hates this stock, and that's why you understand the advertising. You know, if you see the Super Bowl advertising they released, they're trying to display themselves as kind of a man of the people. HIMSS and hers is kind of like the company of the people. Well, if I'm an inside manager of this company, and I see what people say about me outside, yeah, I do understand this marketing positioning where you're a man of the people, you're the affordable kind of healthcare. That's what HIMSS is providing, affordable kind of healthcare. Because if you look, $49 a month for a compounded semaglutide pill, and that's for the first 6 months, by the way, if you buy their package, that's 10x cheaper. That's 10x, 10 times cheaper, period, than the non-compounded version. The non-compounded version, which is presumably not going to be as good because compounding is the future of pharmacy. There is no such thing as somebody who exactly needs 500 milligrams of something. No, everybody's different. Everybody needs a different dose. Compounding is the future of pharmacy, 1-to-1. Everybody needs a drug that matches exactly you. That's the future of medicine. So anyways, this company keeps executing. I am so pleased by what the management is doing. The stock price is the stock price. The stock price does not reflect the fundamentals whatsoever of this company. We had Labs last month. A lot of people praising Labs now. Labs, to me, is clearly taking off. I see a lot of people in Europe complain and wishing that they would have Labs in Europe. Unfortunately, we don't have it over there, and frankly, it's not about the payment, right? It's about the fact that over there, it's probably a huge hurdle to have to go to the doctor and request all of these labs. So, anyways, they do labs, they collect the data. Cancer tests yesterday, 50 plus cancers, including really, really big ones, like pancreatic cancer in there, pancreatic cancer, which is a really deadly one. Really big ones included in that test. Cancer I had never heard of, including that test for $6.99. No brainer for anybody 50 plus. This, in my view, is going to sell like hotcakes. There is no such thing as a test for cancer. For men, they essentially just check your prostate after a certain age. That's like the one cancer they test. Anyways, and today we have the oral GLP-1 launched at $49 a month. So this is the ultimate 0-to-1 move. Why? It's 10 times cheaper than whatever the branded medications offer. It's 10 times cheaper. It's painless. You know, I discussed on this channel many times a condition, something like 1% out of 5 as a phobia of needles and passes out just looking at needles or at blood draws, right? That's why pills are a big deal, because pills are a way to get more people on GLP-1s. That's why HIMSS has invested in these pain-free blood draw methods, because you have a large proportion of a population who just never goes to the doctor because they don't want to see a needle. It's a medical condition. HIMSS is addressing that with oral GLP-1s. It's going for the biggest hurdle to adoption of GLP-1, if you ask me. And in fact, that was Novo's grand plan to rebound, for the stock to rebound. And what we see, a few hours later, I think it was an hour and a half later, you see Novo Nordisk is still down close to 7% right now, as I record this. What do we see? We see that Novo is suing. Suing for what? Pardon me? Suing for what? So first of all, I don't really know how Novo is connected to the US market, because this announcement is in British English. So this announcement came out of Denmark and it's in British English. So I find this a little offensive in America. And it's very disconnected. How is Novo disconnected to write this in British English? That may not seem like a big deal to you, but do they even have a team in the US? Like what's going on? Like what is going on with Novo? Remember, Novo is a company that also forgot to renew semaglutide patents in Canada. They were not renewing it in Canada. I see a lot of dysfunction in this company. I don't understand. Why would you use British English? Why would you have the Netherlands issue that statement and not actually a legal counsel from the US doing that? Makes very little sense to me. But then let's look at the core of the argument. So what the hell is inauthentic or unapproved? What is that? My stomach has GLP-1 peptides. GLP-1 peptides are natural. They occur naturally in the stomach. Every stomach has them. All peptides, by the way, are naturally occurring compound. The fact that they modify the peptides is so that they can have a patent. You modify the peptide so you can have a patent. But originally, most peptides are naturally occurring compound, right? Of which we can make copies, synthetic copies, but they're naturally occurring compounds. So we'll get to that in a second in the video. But let's see at the crux of our argument. Untested, do you really think untested? What do you mean untested? You think HIMSS didn't test their thing? Inauthentic, unapproved? Again, what does that mean? What does that mean? And what does that mean? Because they call it a knockoff. They call it an untested semaglutide knockoff. But how is it a knockoff when compounding is allowed in the United States? Compounding has a long tradition of being allowed in the US. And that's why if you look at a lot of the suits that have gone against smaller compounder than HIMSS, the judge rejected those suits because compounding medication is allowed under the United States, under the FDA. It is allowed. And the fact that compounding is very, very popular. So some people argue it's because of the price, of course. But if you follow HIMSS like I do, and if you know where the future of healthcare is headed, this is a much bigger picture for HIMSS. It's about personalization. It's about one-to-one medicine. One-to-one medicine is the future of healthcare. I do not believe we will have a future where we will not have one person, one drug. Everybody is different. The idea that everybody needs either 500 milligrams or a gram of that compound is an idea from the 20th century. It is not a technology-enabled idea. In a technology-enabled world, you have a mass manufacturing facility that can make one custom drug just for you, and that drug is made by AI, and compounding is done by AI. HIMSS is compounding at scale. Now, if the FDA wants to disallow compounding, then they would have to stop. But in my view, it doesn't seem like the FDA has any interest in disallowing compounding. Compounding is well established. FDA wants to continue with compounding. Compounding makes a lot of sense. So yeah, sure, okay. Some people call it a loophole. I call it the evolution of business. These companies were founded in the 20th, like Trad Health, founded in the 20th century. Philosophy is you get a patent protects you, and then you can charge an arm and a leg for a customer, and the customer has no choice, right? In the new era, drugs are customized. Drugs are customized to the patient. And under the FDA, you are allowed to compound a drug. Hims does not sell exact copies of semaglutide. They compound them. That's it. They compound them. Now, there's another specifically related to the oral pill, the oral part of a pill. There's another important part, which, if that were to be true, would be a violation of Hims. But Hims explicitly notes that they have their own innovative delivery method and that they are not using the Novo SNAC, snack, sodium N, this thing here, the snack. They patented that. Hims is not using that. So they are not using the delivery technology. They developed their own delivery technology from semaglutide. And so in that case, there is no violation if they used their own. Or it's for a court of law to decide. But if they used their own, they used their own. So compounding is allowed, and then you use your own delivery method. So you're good. And of course, imagine the role of AI in this. I'm assuming AI is really, really helping develop intellectual property like never before. I'm sure Hims is using AI. I'm sure Hims' partners are using AI. Yeah, they used another method. And so, and of course, this snack technology that Novo invented, that Hims seems to have another technique, is essential to oral pills. Because if you were to take natural GLP-1s, they would have a very, very short half-life. Now, thanks to the pill, you can have a GLP-1 that has a longer half-life in the stomach, that doesn't get killed by the stomach, and that has a longer course of action. But for that, you need to use an excipient that protects the active compound from the enzymes that kill the active ingredients. So, moving on. So Novo will take legal action ? First of all, that's the first time they threatened that. That's the second time, sorry, they threatened that. The first time they didn't do much. They didn't do anything, actually. So if they do, that is going to take years. Because there's going to be good lawyers on both sides. And of course, Hims is likely going to play the delay game. Right? Motion to delay, motion to, I don't know how you call it, but it's probably going to play the delay game. Right, the whole traditional method, and regardless, there will be an appeal. So, how long is that going to take? 4 to 8 years. 4 to 8 years. And of course, the consensus in the industry is that any product based on semaglutide is probably going to be dead by year-end 2026 when retatrutide from Lilly gets approved. So, retatrutide will be the end of the game for everybody. Right, which is why the next discussion for Hims is are they going to compound tirzepatide in the first step and perhaps compound retatrutide in another step. But the end game is coming for all of this. So like I said, this field is evolving so fast. 4 to 8 years, the speed of law is not at all matching the speed of business. And furthermore, like I said, the suits brought by Novo could be entirely dismissed based on the fact that other suits have been dismissed, many of them 100% dismissed, because the FDA allows compounding. It allows compounding. Now, could Novo do some lobbying in the US Congress? I am not sure about that. Novo speaks British English, not exactly the best in Washington, and Novo also comes from a place that owns Greenland. Not exactly popular right now in the United States, and the United States has like a clear incentive to help Lilly. Like America is pro Lilly. I don't know if you saw these things in Indiana, where it's very likely that Hims will have to give up Indiana, because in Indiana they seem to be moving against any sort of compounding of GLP-1s to protect Lilly. The U.S. is pro Lilly, and I would argue to a lesser extent, perhaps the U.S. is pro-Hims, right? That makes a lot of sense to me. To a lesser extent, it's pro-Hims. To a larger extent, it's pro-Lilly. What are the bigger problems, of course, of Novo? And think about this, who wins popular opinion? That's another big question. Who wins popular opinion? What are the bigger problems? GLP-1s are the biggest blockbuster drug out there. I remember listening to Lilly's CEO saying that at this trend, maybe in 2030, 1 American out of 3 will be on GLP-1 drugs. GLP-1 drugs are the miracle drug of our century. They're a peptide. They're not a drug. But anyways, they're a miracle of this century. A lot of people take GLP-1s also for other reasons than weight loss, like shopping addiction, alcohol addiction. There's a lot of reasons why people want to be on GLP-1s. It's part of a bigger peptide trend. The bigger peptide trend is people realizing, oh my goodness, this class of, I don't want to call it a medication, even though if this is going to be a regulatory debate, this new class of, it's not a nutriment. It's not a nutrient. It's not really a classical drug. It's not a vaccine. It's a peptide. It's an entirely new category. So I don't know if that makes any sense. It's a whole new category of thing that comes from proteomics, by the way. So anyways, that's point number one. It's the biggest blockbuster. Point number two. Current administration is all about lowering drug costs. They're all about lowering drug costs. And you saw that, for example, United Healthcare dropping because CMS said they could not raise their prices in 2027. Like, clearly the current administration is all about lowering drug costs. Again, who do you think wins in the current popular opinion of lowering drug costs? Clearly HIMSS, clearly compounding. Compounding likely has a very, very, very strong social element to it, a popular social opinion. I think compounding wins popular opinion, to be honest. And here's the bigger question, which I think is going to be a debate in coming years, is should you even be allowed to patent a peptide? A related question is, should the FDA be the administration that regulates peptides? Like, this is also something that's going to come up, because what's going on right now is to patent a peptide, you have to modify them. So to patent peptides, you have to modify them. So you can see semaglutide is a modified peptide that can resist longer in the body, and that can take on bigger attacks from enzymes in the stomach. So semaglutide is a peptide with a pretty long half-life. It can last longer in the stomach. That is why you only do a 1-week injection, right? But at the end of the day, if you didn't modify that peptide, could you have patented it? If you had not modified this peptide, could you have patented it? And in my view, the odds of this are no, you could not have patented it, just like you can't really patent a color, even though many people try to patent a color and say, oh, it's a trademark, oh, it's my color. Just like words are very, very tough to patent, even though people try. I mean, these are like old debates. But the point is, to become medication, peptides have to be modified, and then you can file for a patent. But if they're not modified, they're naturally occurring. I can't really, what am I going to do? Am I going to patent a tree? Am I going to patent dirt? Like, it's like, I mean, it's illegal. These are all legal discussions. So that's point number one. And of course, a pill can be daily. So since a pill, and this is something I would love for people to think about, since a pill can be daily, the need for once weekly injections is greatly negated. So of course, compounding semaglutide is allowed, but imagine a world where compounding semaglutide is not allowed anymore. Then in that world, of course, HIMSS would have to stop using semaglutide if compounding semaglutide was not allowed. But it would open up an entirely new area, in my view, which would be compounded liraglutide, or compounded doesn't even matter anymore, just a pill liraglutide with their own wrapper to resist the enzymes in the stomach. You could just have an oral liraglutide. And in fact, if you have that would totally work, because it would be 13 hours, right? The half-life of liraglutide is 13 hours, so that's just about once a day. You could put that into a pill. And liraglutide, why does that matter? Because of course, liraglutide is off patent. Liraglutide is off patent. So I think that's coming. To me, this is an amazing news from HIMSS. I think regardless of what happens from a legal standpoint, Novo has a history of actually not going through with this. And because on paper, it really seems to me like HIMSS is not breaking any rules. Compounding is allowed. compounding is really, really well allowed. And you have a lot of states that are also very pro-compounding. And you have a lot of regulators who are pro-compounding because it gives access to people for a very, very cheap thing. So, and even if compounding were to not be allowed, I would argue oral liraglutide with that wrapper, right, redeveloped with that new wrapper from Hims, I would argue could also be a blockbuster because all of a sudden you can take it daily. So this is all something to think about. To me, this is extremely, extremely, extremely bullish. And I am not very much fearful from the British English announcement that Novo released out there in Denmark, while really Hims is in the US with troops on the ground making the sales. Hims is making the sales. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is not health advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.